Hey guys, welcome to a live stream again. It's been a little bit, and the extra 15 minutes are back. I was prepared enough, so here we are. Oh, my microphone might be a bit hot. Let's see if this is better. Yeah, so welcome. Live stream, and today we're going to look at something we're going to talk about in 15 minutes. Shh. Wait, why is my chat not here? Uh-oh. Something's broken. What the? How did the chat suddenly disappear? One moment while we deal with technical difficulties. There is the chat. I don't know, it somehow disappeared off the screen. It's back. All is fine. Logged in 20 minutes early, anticipating the 15-minute early start. You seem to know me quite well, Richard Campbell. The chat has a 15-minute delay, Philip? That would be bad. That's like YouTube from the 1980s. Where they have to fly in the chat using pigeons or something. What happened with your chia, says Iratarto. It's still happily farming. It's not much going on there. I need to silence my phone. So yeah, chia's still going, and it's going well. And I'm making some chia, and yeah, the storage boxes and those USB power distribution and stuff like that I set up for it, still working excellent. And well, that was kind of the plan. Let's leave it farm for a couple of years. So that's what's happening with chia. Not a lot interactively. It's just going. It's working. It's fine. It's good. Price of chia is pretty good too. Above what I expected it at this point. I expect it to go higher in the future, but yeah. So yeah. Do you have the Coke of the day? Ha 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 ha! It's vanilla! Yes, Coke of the day vanilla. I guess I could open it now. I'm kind of thirsty. Let's do it now. Do you want to have the Coke opening cam? No, it's not in focus. It's okay, it's focused on the desk. So, well, let's do it. There we go. What are you guys drinking? Let me know. Hey, Sion from the Unexpected Makers here. Welcome. What time is it for you? Because here it's well, it's supposed to be 9:15 in the evening, but it's still 9:03. Chia is such a waste. If they would integrate it with StoreJ or something to store useful data, but no, it's just wasted space. Maybe, but it has a very different purpose. So if StoreJ already exists with its purpose, why then would you build exactly the same for a different purpose? That wouldn't make sense. No, Chia has its own purpose. And it currently doesn't have a use except for being a blockchain and a currency, but it will have a lot more uses in the future. But that's all up to your own opinion and research, I guess. StoreJ has the blockchain cloud storage functionality, sure. But yeah, it's something else, so all good. Drinking good old water, that's good too. You need a lot of water a day, so hey. Richard Campbell says, tea, it's only noon here. Cool, okay. So then you're in the US, I think? Or somewhere around there? It's like a cathedral stream. Echo? What? Really? Are you getting echoes? Is anyone else having echoes or bad sound? Audio? West Coast of Canada. Oh, okay. You really hope they store useful data on it. Would make a great decentralized beginning for the cloud. No, that's not what Chia is about. Read their white, green, whatever paper. Oh, okay. No echo. Okay, thanks. Oh. Okay, audio is fine. Nice. Okay. So yeah, Chia has a very different purpose than Storj or Filecoin or any of the projects that are meant to store data. It's not a project meant to store data. Yes, it can do colored coins and Chia Lisp and all other kinds of stuff, kind of like Ethereum, for instance. But in a sense, it's more like Bitcoin and Ethereum than a cloud storage solution. I mean, it's something else. It's can't explain it differently. Audio good. Thank you, your neighborhood. Is your whole neighborhood watching? Oh, Adam Bryant is drinking gluten-free beer. The music is a bit loud, isn't it? There we go. The same pint I started 3 hours ago. I hope you're getting that thing cooled. I mean, I don't drink beer, but I hear warm beer is kind of like the same thing as warm Coke or warm Red Bull or something like that. It's horrible. Google YouTube can't do separate names? What? Okay. Kelly Anderson says, thank you for all your work. QuinLEDs are awesome. And money savers. I guess it depends on how you look at it. But there are some protection features on there for sure that will save you some money in having to rebuy some stuff if anything ever happens. But yeah, thanks. Sounds clear and perfectly nice. Ah, I like that. Andrew, I'm not going to pronounce your last name. Hey, Quinor. Hey, Andrew. Yuck. It's room temp now, but too tired to care. That's the guy with the warm beer. What do you think about Raptorium? I've read about that. That's the cryptocurrency that's favorable to mine on Ryzen CPUs, right? Especially the ones with the large layer 3 cache. I've read about it, but I haven't really had time. Otherwise, this introduction would actually have been a video, but I didn't have enough time this week, so it's now a live stream, and I might cut it up to a video later. We'll see. So, yeah, I haven't had time to look into that either, but yeah. Oh, your neighborhood is mining rap. Nice. I received a Dig-Uno with Ethernet and then 2 more ESP and Ether hats via Dr. Z's. Cool, Andrew. Yeah, the Ethernet versions are very nice if you want to do Christmas shows and stuff. So anything real-time works a lot better over Ethernet than it does over Wi-Fi or something like that. Greetings from Berlicum, as always. Voor van alles. Nice. I like the vanilla Coke. I don't like it like standard. I like it as, well, I drink a lot of Coke Zero. I like it as like something else in a little while. Sometimes, you know, not all the time, just once or twice a week maybe. Yeah. And only one can, and you know, yeah. Cool. Well, there's a lot of people gathering here. I guess I should tell people on the Discord I'm live. I guess. Let's see here. Copy link. Hey guys, we're live. Come and join. There we go. Bam. So, I've been running this new streaming PC, and I think I streamed with it once before, and I did a video with it. And it's running Windows 11. It's a Ryzen 5900X, and it's been pretty good. But I've had some weird hangs with it. So if suddenly the video stops and I don't know, I have to reboot, just letting you guys know, I'll be back. But yeah, I mean, last times it's been fine. I'm wondering maybe if I come back, if I put it into standby and come back, that it's somehow bugged somehow. But yeah, I don't know. I fresh booted it just to be sure this time. So, what is this moderation you speak of? I don't know. Coke Zero is the best thing that happened to Coke and dental bills, says Adam Bryan. Yeah, I bet it is. I have some different reasons why I switched from normal Coke to Diet Coke, I guess. And that's, something to do with sugar. But, yeah. Did you install the newest chipset drives? I did, but that was 2 weeks ago. So maybe I should check if there's a new BIOS revision and maybe some new chipset drivers again. And maybe, who knows, that'll solve it. I don't think it's a hardware issue, so. Because it's also a new build PC. Well, I used it to plot Chia before, and then I rebuilt it into this streaming PC, basically. Why can't you use the temperature sensor on the dig board with WLED? Or there away? Okay. You can, but you have to compile a user mod because the support for it isn't in WLED by default. I mean, I know the only right way to run WLED is on a QuinLED board, of course. But no, reality is that there's thousands of ways to run WLED, and using one of my boards is one of them. So there is a user mod, and in the past it could cause some LED glitches and stuff like that. So that's why I don't offer it pre-compiled. But from what I've been hearing and reading, nowadays it's pretty good and shouldn't introduce any LED corruption. But you'll have to compile WLED yourself from source with that user mod in there, basically. And then you can use the sensor and send it over MQTT and stuff like that. Why Gamora or Windows 11? Why not? I have Windows 11 on this PC and on 2 laptops, and I'm actually loving it. It's great. I'm still waiting to switch my main desktop over, partly because of the issue we're having on this one. My main desktop is also a Ryzen PC. But other than that, I've had a single issue with it. It's running great. I like the new menus. A lot of stuff is improved from Windows 10. I even like the new animations and how things look, and you can customize the look and feel of everything a lot better than stupid black in Windows 10 and stuff like that. If you haven't tried Windows 11, I'd certainly give it a try. I think it's a very nice upgrade. It's my personal opinion, but yeah. Oh yeah, Philip is right. Serg might have one pre-compiled on his GitHub. That's a good one. Ben Murray says, can we get the V3 for holiday season? Yes. What time is it? It's still 2 minutes. But yeah, I'll leave it at yes, and I'll answer more later. But the answer is yes. Don't worry. Arun says, hi Quinder, I am your new fan. Oh, okay. Now working on LED lights in my house. Lots of work and knowledge required. You and Dr. Z's helping really well. Excellent. Great to hear that. Oh, Johnny Bergdahl is here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Johnny. KDE Plasma all the way. Windows 11 was the cause I switched to Manjaro. Okay, sure. I don't mind Windows, especially on a desktop. All my servers and other stuff run Linux, but on my desktop, Adam Ironman, what? Pink is on now. Should I make the background LEDs pink? Where's my mouse? Do I have a pink palette? Is this more pink? I guess. A little bit. No, I'm going to leave it at this. Okay. Well, that's kind of much. Okay, hold on. There we go. Yeah, sure. I get that the intrusion from Microsoft can be a little bit, I don't know, bothersome. I'd rather not have it in there either. Then again, everything is tracking you nowadays. Google, Facebooks, or whatever you use. And, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, sure, Tom, but it's still an improvement. Are Ethernet boards coming to Dr. Z's? Yes, they are. we've had issues getting the ESP32s required for the Ethernet boards, but we got them in last week, so they're currently in production, and those will be appearing in the worldwide store soon, although we still have a little bit of stock left there, and at Dr. Z's in decent, or at least the quantities I can facilitate. What if you add the message gets lost? Really? I've had that bug before, and I really don't understand why that happens. Lost 2 messages so far. Wow, okay. I don't understand why only mods would be able to add me, because I kind of like the highlight. And you did do an at Intermit.Tech, right? Not an at Quinled or something like that? Dr. Z sold out last night. Well, it depends. How many did he list? Did he list 200 or 800? Because let me check his website. Now, the only boards Dr. Z currently has in is the Dig-Quad with the external antenna, and of those, he still has 473 left. Now, I don't think that'll last long either. And he is getting more, I hope next week, maybe the week after that, depends on how shipping treats us. We're currently shipping in multiple shipments to him. So, yeah. Yeah, he still has quads. Yeah. Damn, okay. I'll look into it again, Sion, what's causing direct messages to get lost like that, because I actually like those, but I have no clue what's causing that. I mean, is that a setting somewhere? Well, it's not research right now, I guess. Yeah, sure, I can see you, Andreas Hoffman. Don't worry, Andy, I can see you. Midstream, can't type. Okay. Oh no! Are we? Oh, we are over time. Okay. Well, let's do the official stuff a little bit. Let me reposition in my chair, put my Coke somewhere safe, because I always start swinging with my arms. And let's refocus. There we go. So, hi guys. Welcome to the live stream. And today we're going to introduce not a new board. I was going to say a new board, but an updated board. So, for a while now, we've had the QuinLED-Dig-Quad, which is this guy. And, well, I guess we need to focus a little bit closer up. Nope, there we go. This guy, oh, it's missing one fuse. Do I have one of those here? Yes. Hold on. There we go, one fuse. So this is a Dig-Quad. It's a 4-channel and secretly 5-channel in this revision, which we've been used to for about a year now, or a slightly less than a year, but still. Because you have 4 LED channels here, and you have a Q1R port here, which is secretly your 5th LED channel. But the main things about it is it can handle at least 30 amps continuous using its input terminals, and then has 5 fuses and 7 output terminals. So some of the terminals are shared, as you can see here with the lines. So 1 and 2 are shared, and 3 and 4 are shared. So if you have edge connections or middle connections for power injection, you can use those. And you've been able to get these boards using either, and I got some new packages in, and I thought, let's do an unboxing experience. So you can do that either with a QuinLED ESP32 AB, and that stands for antenna board, and that means that this little black thing is here because it has a board antenna on the ESP32, and the rest is my custom ESP32 module. So next to that, you can also get it with a AE. So QuinLED ESP32 AE, or if you get a Dig-Quad, it would be a QuinLED-Dig-Quad AE, because then the ESP32 is included. And this one doesn't have that black piece here because it's that's the board antenna, and this has an external antenna. So you get a little external antenna with it that you can plug in over here, right? And then there is a third variant since the beginning of this year, and that's this guy. Let me unpack that too. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong one. This one has a Dig-Uno attached to it. Hold on, let me check if I have one without it. Nope. Yes. Okay. So let's forget that one. So that's this guy, and this is the QuinLED ESP32 ABE. And ABE stands for antenna board, so it's the same as this guy. But the only difference is, let me just put the antenna here, is that it has a Ethernet hat basically on top of it, so you can, well, hook up wired instead of using wireless. And, well, those are the three variants of the current ESP32s you can get. These are all full ESP32s, no S2, C3, or whatever kind of variant. They're the normal ESP32, which is still the most powerful for most of the stuff. They're all 4 megabyte variants, but for WLED usage, what is... I can't talk anymore. What is it most... Let me get some Coke. I can't talk. What it's mostly used for, there we go. The 4 megabyte variant is fine. An alternative firmware you can run is ESP Pixel Stick, but that's also fine with 4 megabytes. So depending on your situation, if you have fine Wi-Fi coverage, you're mostly just going to use the app to control the effects and stuff, just get a normal variant. It's also the cheapest. If it's going to be in a more challenging situation wirelessly, or you also want to do some real-time stuff and so sending data to it from X-Lights or something like that, often the external antenna version is the best choice. And then if you're mainly going to be using it for real-time effects, so X-Lights and Christmas shows and stuff like that, then the Ethernet version is certainly a good step up, because that makes that kind of scenario a whole lot better. And each of these just basically fits on top of your QuinLED-Dig-Quad, or Dig-Uno for that matter. This is a Dig-Uno. It's a lot smaller, but it only has 2 channels and a whole lot less power injection and stuff like that. And, well, you can even upgrade it later if you're like, wait, you know... Dutch is sneaking in, damn it. I'm more into real-time effects now. Okay, sure. Then you just put the Ethernet version on top of it, and you don't have to replace the Dig board. And I know supplies are limited currently. We're working on that to get them in plenty supply, so you can always order a different version. And then you can even upgrade an existing Dig-Quad to an Ethernet connected one, for instance. And, you know, especially if you have a few boards, some where wireless range is fine, you can use the board antenna, and others you can switch it out for one with an external antenna. That way, there's always loads of options for the scenario you're working with, basically. Now, we were talking about the Dig-Quad, and of course the announcements for today are about the Dig-Quad, and that is that this has always been the V2. I think, I'm not sure you can read it here, but this has been the V2. This is an R6B. I believe I also have an R7 somewhere. Doesn't matter. Recently, on live streams especially, I've been showing you this guy. And this guy was a prototype which has a few small changes versus the V2. Now, as you've probably seen from the title of this video, this video is titled V3. So let's do a V3 unboxing experience. And well, let's let's hook it up, configure it, and see how that works. So this is the V3, and this is actually, okay, I took it out of the packaging to look at it myself first, but this one hasn't been turned on yet. And this is from, the Coke is coming back. This is from the actual production run, right? So there are some notable changes, especially if we compare it to the current or older version now. And the main changes are that the input terminals have been replaced from these 3 to being these beefy guys, and then there's only 2 spots, but you can hook up a lot thicker cables, and you can also use crimped-on connectors, as I've shown in some live streams recently. So that'll make connecting power to the board a lot easier, because you can use a lot different kind of connectors, and as I said, those thicker wires. And then one of the most notable other changes, and I'm going to try and see if I can get that into focus. It's pretty good. If you look at the terminals here, you see that they all have this metal lip. Oh, wait, Windows is telling me something. I don't want this. Go away. You see that they all have this metal lip down here. And especially if you had connectors with ferrules, they sometimes were pretty hard to insert, especially when you went up in wire gauges. 18 gauge was mostly doable, but 16 gauge really became a problem sometimes. So all across all the boards, so Dig-Uno, Data Booster, and these Dig-Quads, etc., we've changed to different terminals. Now that needed a lot of testing and finding terminals in large quantities without insane pricing, or, I have to order 100,000 at a go, was quite difficult, but I think we managed. And as you can see here, these terminals have a much more even, but especially if you push the little lip inside a little bit, a much larger gap through which now 16 gauge will much more, with a ferrule, will much more easily fit into the screw terminals than they did on the old ones, basically. Now, those are the main changes to the board. As you can see, there have been some layout updates, and text moved over here, but all the other features, so 4 data channels over here, a 5th data channel or a 5.1 volt relay output over here, the 5 volt EXT function, all of that stays the same. And looking at the back, it is mostly the same board. But one of the notable changes, there are some slight changes, but one of the notable changes is that you see 2 PTC fuses over here that have been added for extra safety, and some tracks have been redone and giving extra clearance and stuff like that. And that is mainly to comply to more regulation standards, so UL, CSA, CE, and stuff like that. Now, these boards still aren't certified as they are currently, but if you're making a product and you want to use one of my boards in your product, well, let's talk. Because there's certainly options there. So, yeah, those are the main changes to the board. They're not really spectacular in a function-wise, but usability has certainly gone up with the new screw terminals, I think. And, yeah, I guess that's the main thing for usability. Those new screw terminals really make things easier. So, let me read chat for a little bit. Any Zigbee boards? No. No, I don't do Zigbee boards. The Dig-Unos in worldwide, they are currently in stock because we got a new batch in and we're preparing shipments to Dr. Z's. So generally, let's say that'll take another 2 weeks or so, and then he'll have them in stock too. Irritarto, about the hookup video, he did an excellent video. I was really happy with that, and the shout out for the boards. We'll talk about that resistor thing a little bit later. Maybe the Coke is why you can't talk. Wait, wrong kind of Coke. Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, okay, well, Philip has a good point there. There should always be something there, but the value, however, is a debate. And it's actually, sure, it's a debate, but it's situation dependent. And that's the problem with it. There isn't one value that is correct for all situations. And no resistor is also not correct for all situations. It might work great in some, but it will certainly not work in others. So that's kind of the problem with that thing, and that's kind of why I introduced this guy. Let's unpack that too, because this is a QuinLED data booster board, and well, one of the main features, it has multiple features, is that there's a little switch here, and as you can see it says 249 and 33, and you can switch between a 249 or 33 ohm resistor, adapting basically to two scenarios, and those have been scoped out and tested by me. If you have a 10 meter or 32 feet data wire, with a single data wire, you want 249 ohm, and if it's a combined wire, so let's say 18 gauge dash 3, or it's a parallel run of wires attached together, at least ground and signal are very close together for all the way there, then you want a 33 ohm resistor. Now I've looked into how to maybe integrate that into the boards. That's not for this revision, and I'm not sure if I ever can, but I will look into it more. So yeah. Anyway, that's a side note about the data booster. Those are also in stock in worldwide, and Dr. Z's should have a batch of those listed on his website too. Those come with some accessories. You get two fork-style crimp connectors to basically use here with these M3 size holes, and then you get an M3 size screw with an M3 size, oh no, I'm doing it the wrong way around. The screw should be on the bottom. There we go. With an M3 size nut, and then you can thread that together. It's always fun doing stuff on live streams, isn't it? Well, anyway, something like that. And you can add the power on the back side using the fork terminal, basically. So, kind of like that. And you can even bend it a little bit so that it's parallel with the lines coming in and out. But you don't have to use that. That's an additional feature to do power injection without having to solder, basically. But yeah, multiple function board for power injection or changing the resistor size and stuff like that. There's articles about all this stuff on my website, of course. And I think I have those linked in the description too. Anyway, back to the Dig-Quad. I don't remember what I was saying, but functionality-wise it hasn't changed too much. It's just usability improvements mostly. Now, I've seen some people ask, when will this be available? These are available right now. So the newest batch that was made, that is currently at Dr. Z's, partly because some stuff is still on its way, and available at the worldwide store, is already the new V3 board. So if you're buying now, don't worry, you will always get the new version. Or at least, you know, if you buy from the official sources. There's always Facebook marketplaces and others trying to sell you DIY boards like I made them. Well, I did make the designs, but those should not be for resale. Those are DIY, for you to use yourself. Anyway, comments. I was reading comments. Oh, no. Flipped away again. Single capacitor, yeah, but it's a bigger capacitor, and the boards are still 24 volt compatible. So 5 volt, 12 volt, 24 volt, all good. Both for main input terminals and for 5 volt EXT. And I've done testing, of course, and scoping and Uno. But using the big capacitor doesn't have any downsides to having the two capacitors like the older version. Because, well, there's also been some circuit changes and capacitor stuff like that, so that the board doesn't brown out during a high spike and, you know, things like that. The boards are all prepared for that. UL is a headache. I know. Two less ground terminals to the right. Yes, that's correct, Jaco. Before I had more space here. Oh, that's one of the downsides I forgot to mention. There's also downsides to this board. 2 actually. We'll get into that. You lose 2 ground terminals on the right side, but since you have 7 positive terminals, and now you have 5 plus 2, which is also 7, hey, ground terminals, I didn't think that was a sacrifice worth mentioning, really. Before, I just had the space, so I added more terminals, but I think that's okay. So, there's 2 downsides to this board, and let's talk about the first one real quick. The board had to grow ever so slightly. I'm not sure I can even show you on camera, but the new board is a few millimeters wider, and the screw terminals also had to move. Now, I updated most of the articles on my website already, but the dimension article has not been updated yet, and I'll try and do that tonight or tomorrow. But it's really minimal. For most cases, I don't think it'll actually matter, but it does have slightly different dimensions, because otherwise I just couldn't fit these larger terminals the correct way, basically. Now, and I'm going to go to the face cam for this part. There are... Oh, no, let me move my camera a little bit. There is one other change, and I've been really fighting this change, but I could no longer prevent it, and that is that the boards have gotten a price raise. And I really don't like that, and people on my Discord I've talked to this about, no, I don't like it, but the component shortage, basically it's real. I don't know what you've been hearing about it, but yeah, component shortage is real, and component prices. Anyway, component prices have been raising for me on the back end too. They have been doing so for months, but things are getting kind of nuts. Like, I use a buck converter on here, and prices for that basically tenfolded. The level shifters, of which there are 5 on the board because there's 5 output channels, those have got, I believe, 3 or 4 times gone up in price. The new screw terminals cost a different amount, not that much. But there's all kinds of little components that have gone up in price. Even the ESP32s, and you can check Aliexpress. Oh wait, I'm showing you the board, but I'm not showing it on camera. Even ESP32, the bare W room modules I use on my ESP32 boards, those have gone up in price, and those have certainly gone up in minimum order quantity. And delivery times used to be a few weeks, all fine. Currently, we're looking at 12 to 13 weeks. So we've been preparing for the Christmas season for a long time already, but we just weren't getting any ESP32 modules and buck converters and linear regulators and yeah. So in order to keep making a little bit of profit, because I gotta eat, I have raised the prices. Now, don't worry, it's not that much. The AB version, so the version with hold on. The version with the antenna board used to be $37.50, and that has now gone up to $39.50. And that's purely, well, that's not even all the component increases I got on the back, because that's actually more per board. But I don't want to calculate all of that through to you guys. But it got to the point where it was either stop making them or raise the price. Because, yeah. The Dig-Uno will also get a price raise. I'm not sure that's on the websites already or not. And even the little data booster will get a little bit of a price raise. Just to make sure I can keep making them, basically. And you'll have to trust me and believe me on that. I get that if you're not in the business of making things, you might not be aware of these things, or you might not see so. I invite you to check the prices of ESP32 boards on Aliexpress. It used to be that if you bought one of mine, they'd be slightly more expensive than the ones on there, because those are massively bulk produced and stuff like that. But currently, those prices are rapidly going above what I charge for my stuff, actually. Yeah. Oh, another thing that's totally effed, and I think Sion, the unexpected maker, can also chime in on that. Shipping is broken. Shipping is completely kaput. It's just, when I ship stuff to Dr. Z's, it's easily 2 to 3 times the price now than it was 3-4 months ago. And partly that is, of course, the season and, Christmas and, But other than that, it's just, I send packages and they're stuck at the airport for 5 days because there just aren't enough flights to take the packages with them because of COVID and all kinds of other reasons. So I'm seeing price raises on all kinds of fronts, and I really try to stave it off and keep it away. But I kind of felt that I no longer had a choice. And I debated about this, maybe stop making them for now. But then again, this situation, I have no clue when this is going to improve. It's currently only getting worse. It's harder to get components. Components that used to be in stock by the hundreds of thousands are now just 16 weeks waiting time and then double the price. Yeah. So it's not a lot. It's about $2 a board, depending on which version you get. The Dig-Uno will probably be $1 to $1.50 raise per board. It's not that much in the overall scheme of things, but I do feel kind of bad about it, if that's not obvious by now. And Philip, sorry, I kind of missed your donation because I was rambling. We still love your boards, and the other kids aren't playing nice to me. Aw. Thanks, man. Yeah, so Unexpected Maker says, shipping for me is 4 to 5 times the price and 3 to 4 times longer. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and even time is still money somehow, because sometimes stuff just needs to be there at some point. If you're waiting to gather 40 different components and you're waiting on 1 or 2 of them, at some point you just have to pay extra to get it faster. Yeah. Yako says, last week we paid 15k euro more for a shipping container from China than in June. Yeah, I mean... Mark says, looking for an analog controller. I heard about the AN Penta. Yes, that is still being worked on. The DIY version. Still hoping to release that this year. We're working out some last bugs in there. And then I'm hoping to make a pre-assembled version of a board that basically does the same thing, but it kind of has to be a redesign for manufacturing somewhere early next year. Oh, Draadstaal! Keep making the boards. Keep the boards alive. We need them. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Any change in the amount of LEDs you can drive? What are those numbers for all the boards? Well, there is an article for that. That's going to be my answer to a lot of things. But there is actually an article for that. Hold on, let me get it for you. What is the maximum amount of LEDs per controller? Ta-ta-ta. There we go. That's for Kelly Anderson. As long as the dig boards don't take 5 months like my furniture. No, it shouldn't take 5 months. Although currently we had plans to have plenty of stock in Worldwide and at Dr. Z's right now. But, well, because of component shortage and delays and pricing and all kinds of other stuff, that isn't done yet, but it's almost done. Worldwide has plenty of Dig-Quad and Dig-Uno and Data Booster, and we're trying our best to get stuff to Dr. Z's as soon as possible, so you can buy there locally too. And, well, you will get all the upgraded boards, because also the Dig-Uno got the new screw terminals, for instance. And, yeah, so improvements there too, but those aren't really worth mentioning or a new revision, really. So, yeah. We need some DIY project, man. Yeah, I'm working on that. The AN Penta is going to be a DIY version, so absolutely. Martin Long says, yeah, we need them. Do it. Price is irrelevant. We know you're trying. Thanks. I appreciate that. Let's see comments. Yeah, everything's using digital logic right now. That's correct, Brian. And so the strain on the supply chain is just insane. Oh, and the list says, hope you keep it running. Money is only a passenger. Yeah, of course. And I'm not. My main reason for doing this isn't money. Most of you know that. But yeah. I really don't like that I have to ask more money. I'm just going to hide myself in the corner there. Anyway, what we're going to do this video is we're going to take this out of the box Neo-Dig-Quad that we just unboxed, and we're going to hook it up. See if it works. Well, I think I know it works. We already did trial runs and stuff like that. So anyway, what kind of ESP do you want on there? Do you want a board antenna ESP? Do you want an external antenna ESP? Or do you want to go full tilt and go to the Ethernet connected version? Magic smoke? I don't know. Let's hope not. Vote says the prices are still reasonable. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And I also know that shipping from AllNet can be expensive. Especially if you order one or two things. If you order multiple things, it rapidly gets cheaper per board. That's why we also sell through Dr. Z's and stuff like that. You know. Ethernet, so you can show how to enable that. Oh, well, okay. Ethernet, external. Oh, there's more externals. Okay, Ethernet. Okay. Okay, sure. Ethernet it is. So then I take the Ethernet ESP32, but I don't plug it in yet because we have to wire this up. Now, I have some LEDs here. You know, let me zoom out a little bit first. No, that's too much. Nope, wrong buttons. Let's see if this is kind of in focus. Good enough. Because, well, we don't plug it in yet because if you receive your QuinLED ESP... No. QuinLED-Dig-Quad ABE, you will get it like this. So with the Ethernet board on top of it. The first thing you'll want to... Well, you can turn it on without anything connected, but you want to see LEDs, of course. So the first thing you want to do is basically take this top board and pull it off so you can access these screw terminals because those are the data screw terminals. Now I'm going to make my life easier. I'm going to borrow some pigtail wires from here. One moment. Because this was the prototype. But we're going to use the real thing now. And we're going to configure it from scratch. Now this isn't a perfect analog to how you would receive the boards. Because if you receive the boards... Oh. There we go. They will be pre-flashed with a firmware that is already Ethernet enabled and has some or all of the outputs configured. In this case, because I'm using a new ESP32 ABE board and a Dig-Quad, it'll have WLED on there, but not configured. So we'll do flashing and stuff like that too. So it's really a fresh start. And, you know, it's a live stream, so I shouldn't do this, but let's see if we can put the newest beta version on there and see if things explode. Who knows? So I'm just opening these terminals. If people are wondering, this is a Xiaomi Wo stick, and especially for terminals like this, it's excellent. Okay, so I'm adding some of these pigtails that for data, for positive, and for negative. Most of you will know this, but red is often positive, green with digital LEDs is mostly the data wire, and then white is the negative. Okay, let's do a second one. Now, you might notice that I'm using terminals 1 here and terminal 3. The reason for that is that terminal 1 and 2 are shared by a fuse, and 3 and 4 are shared by a fuse. And in this case, I kind of don't want that. So that's why I just use the other terminals. Now let me screw these down real quick. Let's see, last one, because we're gonna. Oh wait, no. I was gonna say we're gonna hook up 3 LED strips. We are, but one of them is gonna be one of the load bars I made in one of the previous Livestream. Remember these? So we're gonna hook up that one too, but that one has its own separate wires. So. And I mean, I even like these new terminals because they're easier to use. I mean, I heard your cries all along. It's just hard to find decent terminals that have the right ratings and the right certifications and colors and openings, and it took me months to find this supplier. So yeah. Okay. And then I thought it'd be fun. I have 2 types of LED strip here. I have WS2812B and I have WS2812E. And this is basically the Eco variant. That is also, well, these are all BTF. You can see that, BTF lighting. Yes, using affiliate links is always very much appreciated. Doesn't cost you anything, but it does help me out. Okay, so now we've connected all the wires. The next step we can take is putting the ESP on the board. And especially on a Dig-Quad, you can see the first one that lines up. And then just push it in, and that's it. It's in. No worries. Okay, let's move this bar out of the way a little bit. And, oh, connecting. Oh, that's not good. It seems the power injection wires are exposed on this one, since I used it before at some point. Let me snip those off, because I don't want to do a short circuit. Now, this stream isn't going to do the perfect power injection. This is just going to hook them up using a standard JST connector. That's okay-ish for 5 meter 300 LEDs. Depends on what you're going to do with it. If you want to drive them at high output levels, you should inject 5 volt LEDs at the front and at the back. But for simplicity's sake, we're not going to do that right now. So if you'd hook up 10 meters like this in a single string, you'd hook up front, middle, and then, well, you know, middle, and then the back of this one too. So every 5 meters, it needs a connection, front and back. But that's for 5 volt LEDs. But that's not really the purpose of this stream right now. Okay, so I don't remember which one was which now. And I don't think I can see, actually. Oh, wait. I actually got 30 LEDs per meter and 60 LEDs per meter, as you can see here. The B is 30 LEDs per meter, and the E is 60 LEDs per meter. Okay, well, that's good to know. Anyway, let's hook that up. And I chose these strips because they're all kind of different. To show you, well, different scenarios and how to configure that in WLED in a minute. So we're hooking this up, and we're hooking that one up, and that's pretty easy. We're not going to do power injection stuff like that. Now, I already plugged this in. I'm gonna pull it off again because, as I said, I don't know which well, I do know which firmware is on here currently, but it's not configured anyway. So I thought, let's make this extra exciting. And install the newest current WLED beta. Because I believe one was released yesterday or the day before, actually. Right, let me prepare that a little bit. Let's see if it's on here. It's not on here. Damn it. Okay, well, we can upgrade to it later. Chrome. Okay, it's too big. There. You should now be seeing a nice Chrome window. Let's go to 13B4 and let's tick my board has Ethernet because, well, my board has Ethernet. And I've had trouble sometime using this tool that I might have to push the button, but let's see what happens. Okay, so I basically just hooked it up to USB. And now I'm hitting install. It gives me a pop-up that you can't see, but I just select my serial port. Ah, there we go. No button needed. Erasing device. Oh, damn it. Thanks, Philip. Didn't see that in time. Ah, okay, well, we'll flash it again. Don't worry. Let's wait for it and then flash it again. Oh, Martin Long says, I bought the screwdriver a couple of weeks ago. Good stuff. Get it. Yeah, for on-bench stuff, it's pretty good for these type of screw terminals. If you have bigger screw terminals, using a screwdriver is still better. But for lots of small terminals like this, it's excellent. Have you had experience with bad adhesive on BTF strip? Not so much. It's been okay. And if I really wanted to stick, I mostly put some hot glue at some points. So, yeah. Johnny has a woe stick. Be cool. Be like me. Okay, so it flashed, but we're going to close this site. And now we're going to use this one. And we're going to tick my board as Ethernet again because we wanted the newest beta. So let's just, flash it again. Oh, okay. Install WLED, please. Yes, that's fine. Cool. Erasing. This will take 2 minutes. Interesting. Yeah, this looks good. No. We had the B4 before. B4 earlier. B4. Anyway, and this is the B5. You bought some BTS strips all the way from China. Hopefully same quality. All the BTS strips are from China. Don't worry. If you buy them through Amazon, you're getting 100% the same strip. They just ask you more. Oh, wait. What? At Andreas? Anyway, yes. The new input terminals will, I think they'll even take 10 gauge or 8 gauge. If you can get the spade connector in there, or the fork connector, you're fine. The output terminals are still kind of the same in size. It'll accept 16 gauge easier now, but I don't know if you'll get much bigger in there. Maybe 14 gauge with squishing the ferrule a little bit and stuff like that, but yeah. But the idea is that you're now going to have 2 big input cables and then lots of smaller output cables, basically. Oh, Amazon prices more than doubled, if not tripled. Oh, wow. Oh, Terry Miller, okay. Not sure what's going on, Terry. If you're running the data wire next to the ground wire, did you flip the data boosters, or do you have a data booster right behind the Dig-Quad and then flip it to the 33? Install complete. Nice. Oh, wait. It's asking me to configure network? Okay. Well, let's do this. Okay. That's fine. Connect. That's cool. Okay. Well, it says it's, well, I guess it's connected over Wi-Fi now, huh? Yeah, it is. Okay. So we're now connected to WLED over Wi-Fi, but we kind of want to use it over Ethernet because we have this Ethernet port here. So what we can do, we go to configure and then Wi-Fi setup, and then down here we can select Ethernet type, and you select the QuinLED ESP32, and you hit save and connect. And, well, that'll enable the Ethernet port. But then, of course, I also need an Ethernet cable. So let's do that. And there we go. Blinky, blinky. Oh. Let me try and show you. There we go. We have blinking Ethernet. So if I now check my router logs, I can see that it got an IP on my local network. Let me go there. And there we go. We now have WLED connected over Ethernet. So using the Ethernet version is really simple. You either connect to it over Wi-Fi, or either connect it to your network or as an access point. And then you go to Wi-Fi settings, you select QuinLED ESP32 Ethernet version, and that's it. Ethernet becomes active and you can access it, and you got 100% signal strength. That's always good. Okay, so let's turn this off, because we're still connected to USB. Let's put it on the board. And make sure to line up the pins so that you're not one pin off, basically. But it should be pretty easily. It only goes in, well, I guess it goes in multiple ways, but don't try that. And then we need power. Well, I have a power supply here. Let me dig it out. There's all kind of crap here. As a power supply, we're going to be using a 5-volt power supply, because your power supply, well, let me do this on the face cam. The voltage of your power supply always needs to match the voltage of your LEDs. So in this case, we're using SK6812 and 2 types of WS2812B. Those are all 5-volt LEDs, so you need to have a 5-volt power supply. If you have 12-volt LEDs, you need a 12-volt power supply. And if you have 24-volt LEDs, like I did a recent video on, you need a 24-volt power supply. Now, there is an exception. If you're using a 24-volt power supply and then 5-volt buck converters later down the line, you can use a 24-volt power supply with 5-volt LEDs, but the board isn't going to do that for you. You need external buck converters that are actually bigger than the board to do that. So power voltage in is always voltage out. Wait. My chat died. There we go. Okay, are we still live? Well, all my YouTube pages died. Can anyone tell me if I'm live? What's going on? Huh. The stats don't show a hiccup. Yes, still live. Live. Okay. All my YouTube pages I had open just suddenly froze and died. Stream is fine. Ping. I blame Philip. Yes. Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, power supply voltage needs to match your LED voltage. The only thing the board does, the board is kind of selfish. It only takes care of itself. So the board can handle 5-volt to 24-volt no problem. But yeah, you need to match the voltage of your LEDs connected. So anyway. Right. Power supply. So I'm using this, let me show you guys. This behemoth from Meanwell, and this is a UHP 505, and that can do 80 amps at 5-volt. Now, that's an insane amount, and it's more than I'd actually recommend running through the board. But, you know, we've been testing with it, and it's an excellent power supply. Kind of expensive. That one power supply is about $100. But it is a 500 or 400 watt power supply that is passively cooled. So, kind of see why it's worth the price. And it has an active PFC, and it's an awesome power supply. Okay, let's move this Ethernet cable out of the way while we, you know, add the power cables. So the terminals now don't have a color anymore, but the positions are the same. This is positive. This is negative. Don't reverse it. Well, actually, you can reverse it. Nothing should happen because there's protection circuits for that. But I'd still rather you didn't. Oh, Andy, I just caught your question by chance. Yes, if you want to replace one of the fuses on here with a 10 amp version, those are standard car ATO size style fuses. Don't try to buy the cheap Chinese crap because they use aluminium, and the good ones use, I believe, zinc. So unless that's listed, don't buy them. And then, yes, you're allowed to go up to 10 amps for a single fuse socket and or for a single terminal. I don't recommend using a 15 amp fuse in one of these fuse sockets. You can on the Dig-Uno, but I don't recommend on here. The official specifications then also should be taken into account. In total, you're allowed to run 30 amps continuous up to 50 amps peak. Now, as we've tested in recent live streams, especially this version, these all come in 2 OZ, and even the prototype version with 1 OZ was easily able to handle 40 amps continuous. So your mileage may vary there. I'll basically guarantee it'll do 30 amps continuous, and that's even been tested in hot chambers for 8 hours straight, and you know what kind of things. In reality, it'll likely run much more, because the design is able to handle that, but you know, I have to set the specifications somewhere. Okay, so as I said, larger screw terminals are easier with a screwdriver. So yeah, that I have an 80 amp power supply doesn't mean you're allowed to run 80 amps through the board. That's just so I can test it. Now, these are 12 gauge wires, and these were made during a live stream where I showed how not to crimp ferrules and how to crimp ferrules. These are how not to crimp ferrules because you shouldn't be seeing this wire here, but we did so we could test voltage drop and other things. And this is how it should look. No wires visible and a little bit of wire visible here at the crimping point, basically. So you just separate them like that and insert them into the terminal. Now these are fully shielded terminals, so no worries about hitting something behind it or something like that. That should be no problem. Okay, so again, positive goes here. So now making sure you have enough input wire into the Dig-Quad to not get too much voltage drop there, because that's actually a real thing. It's pretty easy. Especially with these 12 gauge wires, which are silicone wire. You can find these on the equipment page that is also linked in the video description. Yeah, I like those a lot. Yeah, you can use ring terminals, but those are often bulkier. I like the fork style better myself. Right, so now we have the LED bar connected here on LED 3 or port 3, and then we have the WS2812B, which are 50 or 30 LEDs per meter, so 150, and then we have the WS2812E, which are 60 LEDs per meter, or 300 in total. So let's turn the board on. I can find a socket for that. Okay, let's see if it explodes. No, it does not. Regarding power LEDs, there is a power LED on the dig board over here. That'll show you if the dig board is getting power. And then there's a power LED on the ESP32 module, and there's a power LED on the Ethernet module top hat, basically, too. Okay. Well, actually, we're already getting pretty good success because these LEDs have turned orange. That means those are likely on port or LED channel 1 because that is GPO 16 and that is actually the default in WLED nowadays. So if we go to the WLED page over here, we should actually already, we can change the color. Yeah, that works great. So let's go to configure and configure this mishmash of LEDs we have over here. So if we go to LED preferences, we'll leave this alone for now. We said, okay, GPO 16, which is LED channel 1, has 150 LEDs. Then we have a second channel, which is also WS28X, and that has 300 LEDs. And on a Dig-Quad, that is GPO 3. Now, how do I know it's GPO 3? If you... Hold on, let me open that real quick. One second. There we go. If you go to QuinLED.info, and you go to digitally addressable LEDs, and over there you have the Dig-Quad and all its articles. One of the articles is a pinout guide. If you click on the pinout guide, you see that LED 1, LED 2, LED 3, and LED 4 has GPO 16, GPO 3, GPO 1, and GPO 4 if you're using an ESP32. So going back to WLED, we see that the first one is indeed 16. Then we have 3 that have 300 LEDs connected. And then we also need GPO 1, which actually has SK6812, and it has 144. So let's save that real quick. And if you look at the table, you see it's actually working, but it's very dim. Now the reason for that is that the brightness limiter is still on. Now you could go to the trouble of actually calculating that, but in our case, we're just going to turn it off. Oh, and immediately the LEDs are less dim. And now we should be able to, let me try and show you the bar too. Let's see if it's on screen. Yes. We should be able to change the colors of all of them. Let me show you over here. And all of them should change at the same time. Cool. So that's a very basic configuration of a Dig-Quad. There we go. But still, we have 150 LEDs here, we have 300 LEDs here, and 144 LEDs here, all running through a Dig-Quad, and that looks fine. Let's see if we can do an effect, basically. I like the Paletti effect, for instance. Yeah, that's working great. But then now all of these are acting like they're one big LED string. And, well, likely in this scenario, you wouldn't want that because, well, this more looks like 3 LED strings than 1. But let's check the chat a little bit because I've been ignoring it. Fork versus round, which one do you prefer? Well, as I said, I prefer the fork terminals. I so much like these new big terminals. Thanks, Yako. How many times have you shocked yourself? Not that much. Are you using 2 power supplies? No, I'm just using 1 really big power supply. Yeah, Yako's right. Check the does cable size matter for LEDs video. It's quite, yes. More copper can handle more amps without getting a voltage drop because of wire resistance. Exactly. That's exactly how it works. Preferred color for power LEDs is purple. Yeah, I'm Dutch, so I'm using orange. And it's, you know, WLED orange. If it's working, it's orange. It's good. Don't forget the brightness limiter. Yes. Yes, Ashu, you can connect multiple LED strips to one data channel. Generally, 2 will work fine. Often 3 will work fine, but more than that, they're basically sapping away too much power from the level shifters, and then you can get issues. Once your Ethernet is up, can you remove the SSID details? That's a good question. I don't know. Let's check. Wi-Fi setup. So this is still in here. So let's remove that. And hit save. Let's see what happens. Okay, came back. Oh wait, no, Wi-Fi setup. So this is now empty. Yeah, I'd say so. Cool. Looking at a DIY Megatree, can I use your product to drive it? Sure, yeah, especially a Dig-Quad should be able to drive a Megatree, no problem. That video scared me away from using 22 gauge for power injection. Yeah, it really depends how much power you need, but then the power injection Livestream will tell you how to calculate that, or at least approximate that, and yeah. Sure, you can leave the SSID in there for if Ethernet doesn't work. On the other side, it should fall back to broadcasting the WLED AP2, so Will 16 gauge handle 10 amps right? Trying to power 43.2 watts per meter 144 LED strip and 6 strips, so we'll need 6 16 gauges. That will depend entirely on the length of the cable. If it's like 1 meter or so, probably. If it's 10 meters per cable, likely not. How far can I run the board from the first LED? It kind of depends on your situation, but generally up to, let's say, 32 feet or 10 meters should be realizable. Yeah, should be doable, basically. But the shorter you can make it for the data run, the better, generally. Sure, Vasu, you're welcome. So anyway, as I was saying, this is currently one big effect. That's cool, but we kind of don't want that. So let's go to the segment tab here, and we see that segment 0 is 0 to 594. But we know that these LEDs are 150 LEDs. So let's change that to 150. I'm not sure that actually works that way, but let's try it. Apply. And I don't think it does it that way. Yeah, anyway, let's continue. And add a segment from 150 to 450, because the second segment, this one, has 300 LEDs. And then we add another segment, and that's the rest of them, because that's actually 144 LEDs, so that's correct. Okay, and let's tick these open, and let's turn this one off and this one off. And now, anything we do, because we have this one selected here, should do so on this strip only. The beta 5 is auto segmenting. I haven't been playing with these betas enough. It does needs to reboot. Okay. Oh, Andreas is here. Get some orange cables, man. Also, hey chat. Will the big power terminals come to the DIY version of the Dig-Quad? Yes. Downside is the bigger board size, because that'll actually make the PCB slightly more expensive. But I am planning on DIY-ifying basically this version back to DIY again. It'll lose some features because those are all in my custom circuitry, which I can't really make in DIY. But I'm thinking of moving the custom terminals with it. So, yeah. Check in LED preferences. There's a checkbox for it. Okay, I don't see it. Start, reversed, skip, off, refresh. Ah, make a segment for each output. That is cool. Okay. Let's undo what I just did. Let's see, I don't know. Goodbye segment. Goodbye segment. 500 something? I don't remember. There we go. Okay, now everything is color looping. And let's go here. Where was it again? Make a segment for each output. Right. Save. Back. Segments. Yeah, that's probably not going to work because I already made segments, huh? Okay. I don't... Oh, maybe you have to reboot. Let's reboot. Reboot. Does the Dig-Quad support 4 buttons, which is now supported in WLED? Yes, in theory it should. You have the Q1 to Q4 and the button pin. So in theory you could do that, I think. Right, oh, cool. So we rebooted, and now we do indeed have 3 segments, which correspond to our 3 outputs. So let's have the first one selected, and let's make that, I don't know, pinkish. And then let's select the second one, and let's make that bluish. And then let's select the third one and make that, I don't know, greenish? Well, it was already green. Yellowish? Yeah, that works. Cool. So now it makes segments based on the output channels you have. That's cool. When counting LEDs in V12 strip, 12 volt strip, where the LEDs are grouped by 3, is that counted as 1 or 3 LEDs? Each segment is 1 LED, because it's basically one intelligent chip, so you address it as 1, and 3 LEDs will change at the same time. So if you have 60 LEDs per meter, and thus 300 LEDs, you enter 100 LEDs. Orange! Yes! Well, I don't have great orange right now. But let's do some different effects. I don't know, let's do BPM on the bar here. Oh yeah. And then let's go to segments. And let's deselect this one and reselect that one. And let's do bouncing balls. Or no, that's boring. This one, boring too. Yes, nice. And then let's deselect this one and select that one. And let's do fireworks 1D. Cool. So now we have 3 LED strips connected. 3 different types actually. 150 LEDs, 300 LEDs, RGBW SK6812. They are all 5 volt. And they're all doing their own thing over Ethernet on a single board. Hey, it's kind of why I created the board, but Andy has to head out. Okay, thanks for hanging, Andy. Joe says, if I'm powering 20 meters of 12 volt SK6812 in series, should I use multiple data outputs for them? Well, let's calculate that real quick. If you have 20 meters and each meter has 60 LEDs, that's 1200 LEDs. Normally, if you have 1200 LEDs and they're each single addressable, yes, you'd want to split that over 2 data outputs because you kind of want to stick around 600 LEDs per data output. But since it's 12 volt, you have to divide them by 3, and now it's 400 addressable segments. 400 addressable segments falls below that 600 mark, so you're fine running that on a single data output. Hope that makes sense. PoE anytime soon? Yes. Or rather, no. Or rather, yes. Or rather, both. Because there's an article that says, can you run LEDs over PoE? And that's also a live stream. which shows you if you can run LEDs over PoE, and or how you can run this setup with standby power over PoE, or actually as a main power. So using a little external adapter, which will always be cheaper than if I integrate it into here, you can already run PoE right now. Phil is here. Looks like we're almost done. Still more to cover. I got here late. Well, there's always the secret. You know. Is there going to be a secret? I don't know. Do you know? I think Philip knows. If you have the older Dig-Quad board, can we purchase the Ethernet board to put on top of that? It depends. If you have a V2, yes, that'll work excellently, no problems. If you have a DIY or a V1, that has some limitations, but you're probably going to guess it. There is an article about that, and it's called Ethernet Compatibility Article. And there we talk about the ESP32 Ethernet compatibility with the V2 Ethernet, or what? Go away. Microsoft pop-ups. With the older boards like the DIY designs and the V2 or the V1 or DIY Dig-Quad. So there are some limitations there because of pin-out changes and stuff like that. But there are certainly still combinations that it'll work fine with. So check that article. I guess I'll throw that into the chat too. Nope, that's not what I want. Yes, Gentle Benevolent. The cost to basically design, implement, and manufacture it into this board, I'd have to ask $20 for it, let's say, if I'm going to sell it. $20 above the current price of $15 for just the ESP32 with Ethernet. You know, so suddenly it's not $15, but okay, let's say it's $40. Okay. Currently, you can buy an external PoE splitter with a USB-C plug, or just wires you can use for the 5V EXT function for $5. That outputs 5V or 12V, which is either fine for the 5V EXT function using the current boards. So I can't build it for $5. And then it's also kind of a niche product, so it's going to be it's going to be expensive to manufacture and design. So, yeah, that's basically the reason I'm not designing and building it. There's already a better solution out there using a mass-produced PoE splitter that costs you $5 or $10. So, yeah, that's basically it. I mean, there's USB-C versions with which you can run, you know, if you just want to run my ESP32 board with Ethernet for another project and use some of the pins, you use a PoE splitter with USB-C, done. It's PoE enabled for $5. I can't compete with that with a custom design. I mean, sure, it might be slightly more integrated, but that's it. So, yeah, that's basically. Yeah. Oh, hey, Rob from the Hookup is here. PoE seems pretty niche. Exactly. And things only work if mass-produced, basically. So, yeah. Any Zigbee plans? I do not have any Zigbee plans. Personally, my whole home is hooked together on Wi-Fi. I don't think I use any Zigbee. I might in the future, but, you know. So, no. Currently, no Zigbee plans. Oh, Nick says, works great. I power my 4 quad boards with PoE in 5V or the EXT power and PSU for my LED. So you use PoE also for the LEDs, or you have a big power supply with a relay that you can then automatically switch on and off while the board stays on using PoE power, basically. Yes, I'm using the PSU converters from the AHSP project. Meanwhile, RM... Okay. That convert 240V to 5V for my 5V EXT setup. Much cheaper. Yeah, that's also fine. That's why I designed the board to be able to take 5 volt, 12 volt, or 24 volt on the main input, but also for the pre-assembled versions on the 5 volt EXT input, which can now also be 5 volt, 12 volt, or 24 volt, independent of the main input. So you can get a cheap phone charger or whatever to keep the board online while you switch off the big power supply for the LEDs with a relay also connected to the board. That's why these terminals are here, to save on power when the LEDs are off, and then automatically get turned on when the LEDs are on again. Yeah, Rob, now that I'm talking to you directly, thank you very much for all the shout outs in your video. It was an excellent video, and well, thank you very much. I lost the mouse. So, kind of the goal we set out to do in this video was unbox a new V3-Dig-Quad, hook it up with the ESP module of choice, which became Ethernet, then flash it with the new WLED 13B5 using the new flashing page, and then sending up WS2812B 150 LEDs, WS2812E 300 LEDs, and then SK6812 RGBW 144 LEDs, all on different outputs. Well, we basically did all that. And it's working great, using auto segmenting even, with a new feature where if you configure the LED outputs, it creates a segment for you. That's so awesome. Johnny says, perfect timing. Now that we're going to talk about the data resistor. Well, let me get my article, because I worked a long time on that article to explain it correctly. There we go. So I have an article on my website. Basically, the issue is that if you run your data signal next to ground, there is and I always forget there we go. I always call it a capacitance effect, but it is a transmission line effect of having ground so close to your data signal that you have to have either no or a low value resistor, so 33 ohm and such. And if you're not running your data wire right next to ground for the whole way there, you basically have to use a higher value resistor to otherwise prevent corruption of the data signal. You kind of always want a resistor in your data signal. That's just signal integrity wise, that if there is any type of ringing on your signal line, the resistor will dampen that over time, where having no resistor, well, it would basically be allowed to ring and could cause its own problems. That's not guaranteed to happen, but that's general practice for single-ended transmission line signals, which these are. I also have some scope graphs here. If you use a separate cable using the 249, after 10 meters at the data port, it looks like this, and then after 10 meters of data wire, it looks like this. So it's still a clean signal. But then if you use ground next to the same cable, you see that basically the ground is taking away energy from the initial spike of the data signal, which then causes the data signal to fail over distance. And you can fix that by going from a 249 resistor to a 33 ohm resistor, or basically using no resistor, because that'll have the same effect, except then you don't have anti-ringing on that single-ended data signal. So I get what Rob is saying, that in his case it's always worked using no resistor, but having a resistor in there is common practice for single-ended data signals. That's basically the reason why you do it, for anti-ringing and to make sure you also don't overload the data port or GPIO pin or level shifter or whatever that is actually sending the data signal, because without a resistor there's basically no limit of the amount of current that can be drawn from that data port or GPIO or whatever. And with a resistor, it kind of current limits in there too. But that's a secondary purpose. The main purpose is anti-ringing. But yeah. Let me reach out. Oh, Andy is looking for 10 amp fuses. The ones I'm looking for says 32 volts. Yes, a fuse is always rated up to a certain voltage. So if the fuse is rated for up to 32 volts, you're safe to use that with 5 volt, 12 volts, and 24 volts, for instance. So that should be perfectly fine. The hookup says, what does it look like on the LED when they need a resistor but don't have it? Well, basically, you'll see these. Oh, I don't want that. Go away. You'll see these spikes, but they'll be a lot higher because there's nothing limiting the initial spike going to the LED. Now, generally, it'll handle that fine, but it's just about signal integrity and how clean the signal is, basically. Oh, people answered the fuse already. Sorry. What it looked like on the LED? Yeah. So I've done tests. If you have 10 meters of data wire and you put and you have ground next to it, using the 249 resistor won't work. You'll see perfect corruption, basically. Switching it to 33 ohm, perfect data signal. Now doing the reverse, having 10 meters of data wire not having ground next to it, so not a 3-wire cable, but 2-wire plus a data cable, you'll have a perfect signal and LED using the 249 resistor, but not using 33 ohm resistor or no resistor, basically. So that's basically the problem also, why there's no golden value. But Philip has been doing a lot of testing, and he shared that on the Discord server already, which will be another article, maybe even a video in the future, basically showing what scenario would require what resistor, because it changes with ground there or not there, cable lengths and stuff like that. And that's the problem. It's situation dependent, so there is no perfect resistor value. I chose 2 based on testing, but yeah. It would be nice if the Dig-Quad and Dig-Uno came with extra fuses. Even if you charge us a bit more, we want more flexibility. I could ask my supplier to maybe make resistor packs available in the shop. They'd be fuse packs available in the shop with 5 amp, 10 amp, and 15 amp fuses in them. But they would be the same high quality fuses, because the fuses I use on my board are official little fuses which have a datasheet and ratings and all kinds of stuff. So they're very high quality fuses, because I want them to actually do their work instead of Chinese cheap crap that'll just keep going forever until everything burns down, basically. But yeah, I can look into making some additional packs available. You could just click into your order, basically. Yeah, the data booster boards, those are basically, the idea of those is to kind of solve this issue. If you're using 3-wire cable, flick it to 33, and that should work fine. If you're using 2-wire cable plus a data wire, flick it to 249, and then it should work fine. But I get it's an additional cost, and it's an additional board, and you already bought this board, so I get the problem. And I wish I had a different solution right now. I'm hoping maybe at some point I can integrate it into the board. The sneak preview from today will have partly to do with that, actually. And we're getting up there. Yeah, it's already late enough. But right now, the data booster is a great solution for that. If you don't want, because Rob showed some great solutions in his video too. If you're suffering from this issue because you're using 3-wire cable like X-Connector, Ray Wu cable, or whatever, bridging those points to the output terminal, so you basically bypass the resistor, or just getting a blob of solder in your soldering iron, flicking the resistor off, and then just making a bridge out of it, that will perfectly solve it. That's also in my article, and even in my article I have... Okay, there we go. I have diagrams here which have the board layout, and they show you the resistor, where they are, and which to replace, and with what type to replace it if you want to. Or as I said, just get a bowl of solder, flick it off, make a bridge, or use a piece of wire like Rob showed you. Those are all fine solutions if you can solder. The data booster board is mainly intended for people who can't or don't want to solder but still suffer from this problem because they have a long cable or maybe two long cables. And then for those outputs, they can use the board, flick the switch, and that will also solve the problem for them, basically. That's also basically why I'm selling these boards at cost. There's no profit involved there at all. So, yeah. Oh, wasn't able to make the solder bridge work well. One time it actually shorted out to the ground plane. What? Why? Huh. Okay. That sucks. Well, okay. Okay. In theory, you should be able to do that. But yeah. But my advice, if you have a soldering iron, just get a blob of solder going. Then you can basically bridge both pads at the same time, flick the resistor off, and then either put a little piece of wire there or make a solder bowl basically over the two pads. And in theory, that should work fine. But yeah. Pablo says, I had a lot of problems with two data wires next to each other. Had one 5-wire cable for power and 3-wire cable for data. Yeah, okay, if you're running 3 data wires for a long distance in the same cable, yeah, that would not be advisable. Mixing data and power works for me with the V1 quad. Yeah, sure. Huh, okay, that's interesting, Rob. I'm not sure what would short the ground then, because, yeah, there's no ground there. I don't know. Sure. Catch you later, Rob. Anyway, well, it's too bad he's gone because, as I said, I'm going to round off the stream today, and I had something prepared. Or round off for today. And I guess I put it away. Ah, here it is. Okay. I showed this before, but it's one revision better now, and that's this little board. Now, this little board is something that will become more important in the future. And let me zoom into that. Nope. Focus. Yes. So this is, and it's a mouthful, the QuinLED ESP32 AE+. And you can get it, or you will be able to get it in multiple versions, and this is something which will probably be released beginning of next year, something like that. And it has a touch sensor, so this will actually be a button in the future. Currently, the WLED implementation I tested with wasn't working yet, but in theory, the circuit is working, because I tested it with an Arduino sketch. So it has a touch button on top, and then it has IR, which means it has an infrared receiver right there. So you can use little infrared remotes like this one you can get really cheap for like $1 or $2. And you can use infrared to control your QuinLED-Dig board. And then it has a microphone. So on here it has a I guess you can see it. It has a digital microphone built in with a little microphone hole right here. I guess I need to put it on the table. There's the microphone hole, which then you can install the sound reactive fork of WLED, and, well, your LEDs will dance to sound. But we're not done yet, Mike. There's one thing more. There's actually two things more. It has an SD card slot, so you can pop in a micro SD card over here, like that, and that will be connected to the ESP32. Now, WLED currently doesn't have any functionality for that, but the newest versions of the ESP Pixel Stick firmware, which is also a popular firmware to drive LEDs using real-time, either using Ethernet, which works fine with my boards, or a new functionality that is currently coming out, is that you can store your sequence files from X-Lights on the micro SD card, and then only the synchronization and timing is done over the network signal. So then suddenly it's no problem anymore that this is Wi-Fi only, because all the LED data will stream locally from this little micro SD card, right? So that will be interesting. Will be an interesting alternative to the LAN version, or the Ethernet version, basically. Kind of doing it a different way, but in both cases, they should be good ways to drive props and stuff like that. And then, and this is really the last feature of this board, is one more thing. Again, it has 3 additional data outputs. So there you can see these 3 terminals here. Those are all individual data channels. So if you remove the Ethernet board here, this is all still prototype, okay? Just give me some time, but yeah, prototype. And I insert this board correctly. There we go. So it replaces the ESP32 stack. It's a new variant of my ESP32 stack. You can only get it, or you will only be able to get it with the external antenna, because it kind of blocks the external the board antenna. And you won't be able to get it with the Ethernet either, because it basically takes the place of the Ethernet hat. But now you have 4 data channels in the blue terminals, 1 data channel here if you're not using a relay or a 3-volt relay, so that's 5 data channels. And then there's an additional 3 data channels on top here. So now the QuinLED-Dig-Quad is an 8-channel controller. Hey. And you might need to do some extra power distribution or something like that externally, because, you know, if you have 8 data channels, you probably want more terminals too. It's not going to be the Dig-Octo, because that name is reserved, and I'm not going to say why. No, this hat will not be sold by itself. It will always be together with an ESP32 for the same reasons as the Ethernet version also always comes attached, and that is because you need the longer pins basically, and well, I can't make it without it. And if you have a normal version with the short pins, well, you can't really make that a long pin version basically. So yeah. What will happen is that there will be variants. So this variant has everything, but I will probably make a variant that has touch, infrared, and microphone. And then I'll make a variant that has touch, SD, and the extra outputs. And then I'll make a variant which has all of that. And, you know, the variants that don't have all of that will be cheaper to make. So, yeah. No, Nicholas, we're not going there. Sorry. Don't, never mind. I didn't say anything about that. It's plans in my head that I have written down, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen. So, no Dig-Octo. No. No, Dig-Octo is not coming anytime soon at all. You're gonna put some people out of business. What about differential signaling for long distance signals? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, can we leave it at that? Shh. Don't mention more things. Yes, ESP32 will drive 8 data channels, no problem. So yeah, that is the sneak preview for today. This already looks cool. It doesn't work fully yet. There's some little changes and troubleshooting things I want to make. But the SD card is working, the infrared is working, the digital microphone is working, the extra output channels are working. The touch button is a WLED software issue, I think. But there's some slight revisions I want to make to it. And at the soonest, it'll be somewhere next year. But it will be, again, available as an upgrade for your current boards. So if you have a Dig-Uno, yeah, here we go. If you have a Dig-Uno, and you plop this on top of there, there we go, blam! Now you have a 5-channel controller. Oh, I forgot. And the problem currently with the boards and the channels on there, if you use 3-wire cable, is that they have those 249 resistors. So what I'm going to do with this board is the 3 data channels on here will have 33 ohm resistors. So you'll have a mix of 249 ohm channels, 249 ohm channels on all of the boards, and 33 ohm channels on the extra add-on board, basically. And especially if you're then going to use this for Christmas lighting or anything else where you're using 3-wire cable, you don't have to bother with booster boards or resistor changes or anything like that. These will always have 33 ohm resistors. So yeah. Micro quad, yes. Well, actually, micro cinco. I don't know, what's 5? Yes, the SD card slot is directly inspired on using the ESP Pixel Stick firmware together with X-Lights, because then you can store the F-sequence files on the SD card, and ESP Pixel Stick can play those as a slave unit to a master FPP server, which then only does timing and synchronization control, which is fine to do over wireless, and all the pixel data will come from the SD card locally. So no network traffic. Goodbye Falcon. Well, I don't know about that. But yeah. I mean, the ESP32 still has its limits. It's not able to drive an unlimited amount of pixels. So keep that in mind. But yeah, if you have multiple props or whatever you want to hook up with separate data cables and stuff like that, yeah. What's your purpose for the touchpad? Most buttons are like a bit away from the controller, thinking of a case, etc. I don't know. My purpose for the touch button was, I have space. Let's do something with it. That's really... You can ask Andy and Philip. Philip's still here, I think. That's literally how this came to be. Can I fit it on there? Yes, I think I can. Let's do it. Hey, Mako. Oh, unexpected Maker. Gotta run, folks. Thanks for the stream, Quinder. Have a great weekend, everyone. You too. See you on. 2 analog RGB strips on a QuinLED-Dig-Quad with the X3. No. No, these are still digital LED channels. No analog there. Oh, right. There is actually... not sure I want to mention these. I guess... In theory, I haven't tested it yet, but in theory, this board or stack will work on the upcoming AN Penta. And then you'd have 5 analog LED channels together with 3 digital LED channels. But yeah, let's not go there for now. I don't know. I can see it in my screen, and we're in 1 hour and 45 minutes. Let's make it 2 hours, and I think we'll have had a pretty good live stream. So, any questions about either anything I've showed you or LEDs or stuff like that? I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about Ethernet, we talked about PoE, we talked about the new V3 Dig-Quad, and is there a Dig-Quad DIY? Yes, but it's basically the V1 design. I will be working on an updated version of that, including the new screw terminals and stuff like that. But I'm not sure when that's going to be done, because I've been swamped. So, what are the pins for? You mean the long pins? The long pins are basically there, so... hold on. So these are 2 boards stacked together. If I pull them apart, which I don't advise, you can see that this ESP module has long pins instead of the normal short pins, right? And that enables me to make additional add-on boards that you can stack on top. Now you can ask me, why then don't you sell all of the ESPs with the long pins? Well, you can ask Andy from my Discord server. Sadly, he's not here anymore. because it's way too easy to touch those pins and then stuff breaks, which happened to his board, for instance. During some testing I asked him to do, so I kind of feel bad about that. But yeah. When will the Deca Plus be available? The Deca Plus is a cancelled project, but most of the stuff that was in there will be in the AN Penta project. You can check the website. Terata says, I missed Livestream. Tuned in just now. Are there any improvements for the Dig-Quad V3 compared to the V2? Yes. But there is also a revision article on the website which will, show you those changes. And there's new pictures in the pre-assembled page. But basically we now have fork terminals and we have improved output terminals. Those are the main things you should take away from this, which make the board easier to use basically. In Rob's video on the hookup, he shows changing dig quads to 10 amp fuses instead of 5 amp. Can you explain why you use 5 amp and why he might have needed to up his fuses? Yes. So it depends what we're talking about. If you're talking about if you're talking power injection, you often have a edge connection, so at the beginning or the end of an LED strip, or you can have a middle connection where two LED strips come together. Now, 5 amp is most often enough for that, especially if you're using 12 volt, but it can sometimes need more. So if you, for instance, want to run 2 edge injections on terminal 1 and 2, replacing that with a 10 amp fuse is advisable. Or if you want to run a middle connection using 1 screw terminal and 1 fuse socket, probably upgrading that, especially if you're using 5 volt LEDs, to a 10 amp fuse again is advisable. But for normal injections, most often a 5 amp fuse is enough. But they're pretty easy to change out. So I have to choose a value to deliver it with. So yeah. Is there a DIY package with all the components included so I can solder myself? No. I use Aliexpress links. If I have my supplier make a package with all the components, the DIY kit would basically become the same price as the pre-assembled version, and I kind of don't see the use of that. I'd then rather keep it a DIY project where people can source their own components from wherever they want to, and maybe use some affiliate links from Aliexpress. Yeah. What? I'm not sure what Chris is talking about. Okay. Will Dig2Go be available this year? I tried. I really tried. But I think that's going to be a no. I've been trying to get that board out for a while. It's been really frustrating, if I'm honest. I'm working on it together with my partner in China as fast as I can, but it's just a lot of work, including certifications and all kinds of other stuff. It's a great board technically. It works great. It's all developed and it's done. There's just other hurdles preventing it right now, including ESP32 shortages and stuff like that. So we're working on it, and we might actually make a batch soon. And I've been thinking about maybe an alternative release plan without a case and stuff like that. I've talked about that before in the other video, but I don't know. I just don't know. This stuff I have much more in my own hands, and I publish and release it when I think it's done. The other Dig2Go has some collaboration in there with my partner, and it's just a lot more work with a lot more things involved, including regulations and case and custom molding and investments and stuff like that. So that's why it's taking a lot longer. But I'll get that out as soon as I can because, well, it's a great board. I actually used it not last weekend, but the weekend before that, because it's so easy to just take the board, USB-C, LED strip, done, it works. Yeah, and the second thing, I'm kind of afraid of someone copying the idea, basically. They'll have some circuit development to do, but it's not impossible. If I can do it, someone else can do it too. So yeah, I hope that will be soon. Yeah. Your boards are too popular. Dr. Z's is out of stock too much. Congratulations, thanks. Yes, Jim, we're currently in the restocking round. It took a little while. They will all be the new versions and the upgraded terminals and stuff like that. Most of the stuff is now out of production, so my people from AllNet, they're working their asses off trying to get it all tested, flashed, and shipped. And then it's stuck at the airport for a week because of DHL and other crap. But yeah, it's coming, and it's coming soon. In theory, everything should still be available in November from Dr. Z's, and currently already from the worldwide store if you can't wait. But yeah, it'll be there. It'll be there. Oh, it's 2:01. I talk too much. Okay, I'm going to round off this live stream. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. I might make this into a cut-up version for some of the sections. I'm not sure yet. But other than that, as always, I thank you very, very much for watching, commenting, and hanging out with me, playing with LEDs. That's always fun. For me, it's always fun, at least. And I hope to see you guys on the Discord server if you're not there yet. But otherwise, in the next video, in the comments section and such things. So, bye-bye.
All right. I'll tell you the truth. Remember all the happy times we had? We're very much alike. Remember all the happy times we